Welcome to Think and Grow Young, the podcast where we highlight and focus on women, their powerful stories, their resilience, and their struggles, and how they came to be where they are today. I'm honored and excited to share my guest today with you, Joanne Hewat. Joanne, sometimes you meet someone through one avenue, in this case, business, and you realize you know each other from another avenue, your personal lives and a passion that you share. This is the case with Joanne and I. So I'm very excited to share her with you. Joanne is a seasoned sales leader in the education space. She's just as passionate about helping kids discover the joy of reading as she is about giving back to her community. So you're going to love this conversation, and welcome, Joanne.
Thank you, Jody. Nice to be here.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you. So you've had this amazing career. You've led sales teams in the education and the ed tech spaces. Take us back. What sparked your interest in this world, and what's kept you inspired?
It's a good question. I actually sort of fell into this world. It wasn't anything that I had ever planned as a
Mhm.
child. I really didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up, and I still feel like I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. But I sort of fell into it, and it was in the educational publishing world in Canada. So I am Canadian.
Mhm.
Been living in the US for about the last 5 years. So that part of my career started in Canada as a salesperson. Actually, I was a sales assistant to begin with, and then I worked my way up through the organization, and that was with the McGraw-Hill companies, working in the post-secondary field for textbooks, actually. So I worked through, I would say, probably about 10 years of direct selling as a salesperson myself, and I was then recruited over to McGraw-Hill by a previous sales leader who saw good potential in me. And so I worked with them for a few years as a regional sales manager and then was promoted into director of sales and leading that sales organization for Canada. I was there for close to 22 years. Took a little bit
Wow.
of a hiatus, left and went into school uniform business for a couple of years, and then went back into the ed tech space. And I think what kept me there was the evolution of the textbook and the evolution of education over the last 10 years has been just so fast. Uh, the change from print to digital was happening. There was a lot of transformation happening in that business. And so that sort of kept me, my interest peaked because every single day was a different beast to have to deal with in that industry. People weren't buying textbooks anymore. They were moving into the digital world. And so kids these days, they don't really ever buy a textbook anymore. They're really buying online access codes to get into the content. So that
Interesting.
was a good portion of my career was transforming that sales organization from being a print oriented to a digital oriented sales team.
That
So
is a
that's
big task, and that's a really interesting aspect.
mhm.
And I definitely want to talk more about that. So, what inspires you to do this work?
I think there's a combination of things. I was not ever very engaged in school, and so when I was working with the McGraw-Hill companies, the work that they were doing in helping students want to be more engaged, and the whole technology piece of it that was becoming much more personalized to people's learning styles. I think, when I was a kid, they used to blanket learning or teaching. They blanket it across all the kids in the classroom versus taking a more proactive and personalized approach. And I feel like in that realm of business, we were getting into adaptive learning and adaptive textbooks that really honed in on where you did and didn't know certain content. So it made it easier for you to study. It made it easier for you to learn. So for me, I mean, I wish I had that when I was back in school. That would have made my life a lot easier. So I think it was that. And then now in my current role with Scholastic leading their book fairs team here in the US, it's really around sparking joy joy in children and giving them the opportunity to learn about other worlds through reading. And I think that, again, I loved reading when I was a kid. I was not an overly engaged student. And so, this sort of brings that world back to me again. Having the opportunity to help kids see what the possibilities are is thrilling. And seeing kids at a book fair, I'm sure, Jody, you've been to some in your life previously. There's nothing more joyful than, kids who are excited about reading.
Yes, and I loved the words you chose, sparking joy.
Mhm.
That is such an intrinsic part of why we get up and out of bed every morning, and
Mhm.
also to health, and also to staying vibrant and young. This, kind of conduit through the book fairs and the stories
Yeah.
in inspiring this in young people.
We've had people come and read. We've had various authors come into the schools and do readings. And just seeing the joy, like I said, the spark of joy on kids' faces when they learn that there's more going on outside of the world that they're currently living in. Uh,
Yeah.
we are highly focused on providing access for all students. And so, as equity is super important. And you don't necessarily get that in every situation, in every school. And so we offer something called Share the Fair, which offers kids, everybody, the opportunity to contribute to a fund that also allows kids to pick out books in the fair where they may not have had the opportunity to do so. So I'd say, going back to have I seen it spark joy? I have in multiple kids.
Mm.
And I don't know that I have one that I could really hone in on at this time, though.
Yeah, that's fine because we can all imagine um, whether we're parents or we remember in our lives when a book took us to another place, like you
Mhm.
said. And as children, usually the world is small,
Mm,
and being able to transport yourself by opening a book or tapping into a book online is just such a beautiful opportunity. So I think that's wonderful.
yeah.
I just want to shift a little bit to, you have held various leadership roles.
Mhm.
Talk to listeners about your leadership style
Mhm.
and how you've inspired the people who have worked with you.
So, that's a really great question. I've been asked that multiple times, obviously in job interviews.
Mm.
And the first thing that always comes to mind for me is people development. So, how can I take the people that I work with or that work for me and help them to grow in their careers? I've done that multiple times and in general, actually, to be honest, it's been with women predominantly where I've had, built succession plans for either people to take my place in my old roles or have mentored individuals who are either in my organization or outside of my organization. And then also been mentored myself by, women in leadership. And so I think it's really people first leadership. And I think it's really around I hate to use the word servant leader because that's been overused so much. But I really do. I like to help people understand how to be great in their roles, how to build their careers, and then also, how to navigate, what can be a challenging world in the corporate world. How do you navigate your way through business? And I just actually 2 weeks ago, we had a sales leadership meeting, and amazingly, again, predominantly women in the book fair business. I'm going to say probably at least 85% of my team are female. And
Interesting.
so bringing them together for training and opportunities for, advancement. We've just built a promotion program within the companies so that people in sales have opportunities to work their way into more senior roles. And so bringing the team together for that learning was super beneficial. So one of the other when we talk about mentoring and being a mentee, 2 weeks ago when I brought my team together in Cincinnati and we did some training, one of the things that I had them do prior to that class, that training class, was to read a book by my previous mentor. Her name is Lisa Lisson, and she is actually she was one of the first Canadian female presidents for FedEx.
Oh.
So she was running that. She was my mentor, and she talks a lot about what you talk about in terms of resilience.
Mm.
And so we did some work around, what does it mean to be resilient, and what does it mean to take power and ownership of your career and your own development.
Mm.
And so what I like to say to people is, I can do as much as I possibly can to help you, but really you have to take ownership of your own growth and development. And a lot of that comes with where and how you choose to take your career and how you choose to, upskill your own skill set. So yeah, that I think there's the people development is number one, and then obviously number two is like helping teams grow and develop good process, and in particular good sales process.
Mhm.
So for me, my background's in selling. I've been in sales all my life, and so it's really helping teams get really good at building good sales process and becoming a high performing sales organization.
Yeah, it's very powerful, the things that you've just shared. Um, I relate to it because in good health coaching, it's about helping the person across from me to identify their strengths that already exist inside of them, what they
Mm,
already know, and leveraging those strengths. So taking ownership is empowering. Anybody can tell somebody else what to do,
yeah.
but helping someone identify their inner strengths and how they are going to grow themselves in their career, in their lives, is something they always take away and have inside of them. And that is really a beautiful skill and tool to have. It's really everything. So I
It-
love that. I want to
yeah.
just shift gears a little bit
Mhm.
on how we met
Yeah.
the first time. So as I said, earlier on, sometimes you meet someone through one avenue and you realize you already know them through another. When you and I first contacted each other through business, the Think and Grow Young podcast, um, I didn't put two and two together, but you did. And you said, we know each other. Both of us love animals.
We do.
And we actually first met through an organization that we're both involved with that is near and dear to both of us. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, yep. So that would be Abandoned Pet Rescue in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where I reside for a portion of time. That was just amazing to see you reach out to me. By the way, when I saw that on LinkedIn, I was like, Jody, I think we know each other, working on the marketing committee together.
Yeah.
So I found that organization when I first moved here. I took a job in Miami, and so I ended up living in Fort Lauderdale, so I could be close to work because I was going into the office at that time. And literally, I think it was maybe on the second day that I had moved in, I took my dogs for a walk and I walked around the corner from my house, and there was this beautiful mural painted outside of a building that was Abandoned Pet Rescue. So that's how I found it, was literally walking my own
In your
dogs. And so I
neighborhood.
took
Yeah.
the dogs back home. I dropped them off. I walked back around the corner and I went in and knocked on the door, went in and said, listen, how can I help? I had been on the board of directors for a humane society in Toronto, the Etobicoke Humane Society, for about 4 years prior to that. In that situation, I had just walked in and said, what can I do to help? Thinking I was going to clean kennels or do whatever whatever they might need me to do. And I ended up on the board of directors there, and helped, raise a good amount of money in that organization to help those animals, and made some decisions around, how we were going to care for the animals and what our adoption program was going to look like. And so taking all that over to Abandoned Pet Rescue, met a wonderful woman named Jeannie, and Larry and you and all the good people there. And and became involved with the marketing committee and ran some events, some really successful events with them, and Hugs and Kisses being one of them.
Yes.
And then ended up joining the board very shortly after that. And that's why you and I haven't had a lot of interaction, because I have been working with the board for the last couple of years. Again, really honing in on fundraising, building a strategic plan, and kind of professionalizing the organization a little bit more. We
Mm.
are growing, as you know, like such a quickly growing organization, and we always need funds and we always need help and support from volunteers. So that's really what my role is there.
And that's a beautiful thing because having been involved with this organization since 2016, I mean, we'll do it.
Yeah, yeah,
This little
absolutely.
munchkin came from APR.
What a baby.
Annabelle. Yes. And this
Annabelle.
was back in 2015 because when I first moved to Florida, and after a couple of months wanted to get involved in rescue, um, APR was an organization that was brought to my attention. And I walked in and I started walking the little dogs because
Mm,
I'm kind of little and walking around with a 60-pound dog probably wasn't going to be a great idea. Um, and it very quickly turned into we are forming a marketing committee. Larry was that person.
mm.
And do you want to be a part of it because of my background in PR? And I said yes. And we started in Jeannie's kitchen at the studio,
Yeah.
meeting every other week. And that lasted in that capacity until COVID. So I have seen just in the last couple of years how that organization has gotten more professional
Mm.
and extended their reach even more. You know, we did wonderful things for the first several years, and things have really ramped up over the past couple of years. So, congratulations to you and the team. We finally have a board that is active and engaged, and
Yeah.
it makes all the difference in the world for those animals.
Very much so. I would agree with that for sure. And we're all leading different initiatives within the organization. And I feel like
Mm,
we've made some great strides in just creating awareness around that we even exist, because it is,
exactly. It's a
yeah,
crowded
that's the
field.
biggest piece. Yeah.
It's a crowded field. They've been around for a very long time. They're Fort Lauderdale's no kill, and they've been doing great work for
Yeah.
decades. So,
Yeah.
yes, kudos.
Thank you.
Um, if you had to give one piece of advice to women, could be young women, could be women transitioning in their lives, um, rising into leadership roles today that want to bring more heart into their work as well, what would that be?
It's interesting. I did talk about this when I met with my team a couple of weeks ago, and we were looking at this, this book, Resilience. One of the things that Lisa talks about in that book is around not pigeonholing yourself into one place in your career. And so, lateral movement in business isn't necessary to become what you want to be. So no, horizontal movement. So taking lateral positions actually can be really beneficial. Going and learning different parts of businesses, whether it be a promotion or not, I think it's good practice to just expand your mindset and your skill set, and
Mm,
it makes you more valuable.
mm,
So it's really just don't pigeonhole yourself because you think you only have one skill set. There's always opportunity to learn more. And I think that's what I've learned through my career in education is that there's always opportunity to learn and to you can make the decision to make the move wherever you want to go. It's, take the ownership, going back to ownership, I think, Jody. And I think, I spent some time reading your book and I realized that, a lot of what you talk about in there is about taking your ownership and waking up in the morning and setting your intention and taking ownership for your day and how that's going to be. And in particular, taking ownership for your mindset. That
Yes.
that's something I say I talk a lot about that over the last few years too. I think I've really come to learn how powerful your mindset really is around your health, around your ability to do your job, around your family life. And I'm an avid golfer. And I golf with my husband, and my husband is a natural athlete, and he just says I should be really good at golf. And he came out and golfed with me a few times, and he was really frustrated. And he was like, okay, I'm not ever going to be good at golf. And I said, but that's a mindset. This game, you can be an athlete and never be good at golf, because I feel like it's a heavy mindset game. So that's like I'm bringing mindset into all different parts of my life. So I loved what you had talked about in Think and Grow Young about mindset.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you. We become what we think about all day.
yeah.
And it doesn't matter what area of our lives that we're talking about, it pertains to all of it. So, yes, the mind is a very, very powerful tool. And golf, having grown up with parents who were avid golfers, oh my God, is it ever a mind game? I remember when my dad, because my dad was a pretty good golfer, when he had like a bad streak, he was buying a new set of clubs. I mean, he was looking for anything
Right.
that would be, well, maybe it's this, but it's really what's going on between the ears.
It
So yes,
absolutely
I
is.
think that that's super critical, and that's great advice for anybody coming up. And thank you about my book. I appreciate
Mhm.
that. The podcast is really about reimagining how we age and evolve.
Mm.
And it's very focused on being the captain of our own ship and through passion and purpose.
Mhm.
Um, how has your purpose shifted, if at all, as you've grown, both in your life and in your career?
So yeah, I love that question so much. I think when I was younger, it was all about yeah, just figuring out how I was going to get ahead in my career and where I was going to end up making more money. So it was about money, 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 career, career advancement.
Mm.
And then I got to a certain point in my life, and honestly, it was probably about 17 years ago. I was in a terrible car accident. Uh, very close to like really having some challenges for the rest of my life based on the car accident was near fatal. And it took me about a year to rehab from that particular accident. And I would say that it was at that time that I switched my mindset there from I just need to like grow, 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 make all this money to what can I do to make a difference? Where should my career go to help make a difference? And I feel like Scholastic has been a perfect fit for me in that regard. But then what do I do, in my spare time that's making a difference? How can I spend my life doing things that are going to be additive either to my family or my community,
Mm.
the animals,
Mm.
and then my work. So I think that was a major life shift for me. And then I would also say I know you talk a lot about women over 50 in particular, because a lot changes in your 50s as you're going through a
Yeah.
lot of physical changes, mental changes. And I think that when I hit 50, and over the last several years, my life has changed drastically. So I think a lot of people think you slow down when you get to being 50. You start to do different things. People maybe are starting to think about retirement. And I'm like, no, actually, this is the time that, I feel like you've got the most potential to do great things,
Mm.
because now you've sort of, where you want to go. And I made a major change. I left my country. I moved to this country. I got married. I changed my career. Like that was, I've had so much significant change. I think, and it's worked out great. I mean, I feel like I've landed in exactly where I should be. I found I found APR in Florida, and then found a great job. And I've you talk about community as well being crucial. The community I've met through APR has been amazing, and then also the community I've developed here, where I'm at right now in Wisconsin, of women, other like-minded women who are, professionals, who also feel driven to make change in their life, even though a lot of them are in their 60s. My best friend here on the lake, she actually just in the last 2 years, she left a big job. She was a head of sales in consumer packaged goods at some very well-known companies. And she just changed her job, her career at 62 years old to be a flight attendant for Delta.
Oh, wow.
So you can do all these things, well into your 60s and as you get up to your 70s, and you're a great example of that,
I am
Joey.
totally living proof of that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I changed my career in my 60s
yeah,
and aligned with my passion
yeah.
finally. So,
That's so
yes.
great.
Oh, yes. And for you too. So, Joanne, that car accident, that near fatal car accident, oh my God, I can't even imagine. Rehabilitation from that must have been very challenging. Is there anything that you'd like to share that maybe will help others about that process?
Yeah, it was an extremely challenging point in time in my life. I remember waking up some mornings crying, thinking I was never going to get better. But the it was going back to mindset again, the mindset of just like I got to get up and I got to continue to like get better and work through the rehabilitation and just stay the course was super important. The biggest challenge I had during that time was I put on weight. So because I wasn't able to be as active, I had broken my femur and my collarbone. And so I was in a wheelchair for close to 4 or 5 months, and then progressively worked to a walker and then crutches and then, was able to walk again eventually. But the process of that, as I was going through that process, I was slowly but surely gaining weight. I had been athletic all my life. I had never had a problem with weight. And then all of a sudden, I was dealing with that. And so I went through periods of like, we had this diet in Canada called the Dr. Bernstein diet. I did that, starved myself to death to lose weight, and then it came back again. I did various reset diets and South Beach diet. Like I think I had every diet book in my cupboard. And they were all short-term fixes. It was not a good long-term fix for me. And in fact, what I didn't even realize was that I was messing with my metabolism in ways that, in the long term are not good for you. So eventually through time, I came to learn of a group in Toronto and it's a women's coaching team that coaches females on how to eat properly in terms of tracking macros versus tracking calories. So
Mm,
how you're looking at the foods that you're putting in your body, but then how are you actually active? How are you active? And the thing that I didn't realize is I needed to be walking way more. It's not just about like going to the gym and lifting weights and then doing cardio. It's like, how are you staying active throughout the entire day? So I bought
mm,
myself a stand-up desk. I got myself a treadmill to go under my desk so that I could, find ways to, fit those steps in. I bought myself the Aura ring so that I could track how much movement I had during the day. And then realized also sleep is critical. The exercise is critical. What you're putting in your mouth is critical. You talk a lot about like supplementation and like how are you managing like where do you have gaps in that and how do you identify that? So between my coach Deborah, who I absolutely love, she's my fitness coach. Every week I have to check in with her. I have to send her photos of myself along with my weight and under my fitness app, I track my food intake. And so I've become very regimented in that. And I was able to, since last November till now, I've dropped 44 pounds.
wow.
Yeah. And it's all
Wow.
through consistency.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's the big
thank
word.
you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people listening are going to relate. And, that accountability piece is critical. It's
Mhm.
absolutely part of what I teach my clients when I coach, self-accountability.
Yeah.
And that consistency is key. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
Celebration. Absolutely. So where can people find you if they want to know more about you, Joanne, and what you do?
Sure. You can find me on LinkedIn under
Mhm,
Joanne Hewat. I am
mhm,
there for Scholastic. I am also on social media.
mhm.
So I think I don't even know my social media handle on Instagram, but I think it's Socratic Check at Socratic Chick, and that's a long story on that one, but that's a sales thing from years ago
Okay.
on Instagram. And then you can always reach out to me directly at hewatjoanne@gmail.com.
Okay, and we'll leave, those links below so people can find you. Thank you so much for participating on my show today,
Thanks
Joanne.
for having me, Jody.
It is my pleasure. And thank you all for listening. Um, we at Think and Grow Young celebrate women who lead with purpose, passion, and heart, and we share those stories. If you like or were inspired by what you heard, please share the podcast to any women you feel could benefit. And until next time, think and grow young.